Hi, I'm Christa Jacobson, head mistress of the Budo, where we teach authentic Ninjutsu and classical samurai Bujutsu. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the ancient martial arts of the ninja and samurai. In today's video, we're going to talk about 5 things that you need to do to win a fight and survive in a self-defense situation. Now, before I begin, I always give a shout out to all of my new viewers. So if this is the first video that you guys have seen of me, my name is Christa Jacobson. I'm the head mistress of the Budo, which means School of the Warrior Way. We teach Koryu Ninjutsu and Koryu Bujutsu, so the ancient martial arts of the ninja and samurai. This organization does have other areas of focus, such as reality-based self-defense, weapons training and tactics, survival skills, martial arts theory, thought, and philosophy, martial arts conditioning. If any of these topics interest you at all, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to click the bell. I do post 2 to 3 videos every single week, so if you're interested in any of those topics, please subscribe, click the bell, and keep up with what we're doing. So today we're going to be talking about 5 things that you need to do to win a fight and survive in a self-defense situation. It doesn't matter what martial arts that you're studying, it doesn't matter where you're doing your self-defense training at, that's irrelevant. These are the 5 things that you need to do to win a fight and survive in a self-defense situation. Number 1, recognize the threat. So when I'm talking about recognizing the threat, I'm talking about situational awareness. Understand where you are, what you can do in the situation and the element that you are in. Understand your own skills. What weapons and tools do you have? What can you do in the situation that you're in? You have to combat many things, not just the person in front of you. An example, maybe you might be wearing dress shoes and you're on asphalt. You won't have the same traction as you would if you're wearing athletic shoes. So you have to understand the situation. You have to recognize the threat. The threat is not just the individual in front of you. It's the surroundings, it's the element, it's the individual in front of you. You have to recognize the threat. What can you do in the situation, in the element that you are in? Number 2, reposition. Now, when I talk about repositioning, I'm talking about preparing for the altercation. Regardless of the situation that you're in, if you know you're in a self-defense situation and you've now recognized that, you need to now reposition. That comes in many different forms, whether that's taking on a certain kamae, putting yourself in position to be able to protect yourself and the ones that you love, whether that's putting an obstruction between you and the would-be attacker. Maybe that's in a situation where you can get to some of the weapons and tools that you have to help protect yourself and aid some sort of victory in a self-defense situation. But regardless of how you reposition yourself, whether that's body alignment, grabbing certain weapons and tools, putting yourself in a position to where there's some sort of object between you and the would-be attacker, regardless of how you reposition yourself, once you recognize the threat, you need to reposition yourself and put yourself in a more advantageous position to be able to become victorious in a self-defense situation. Number 3, respond. Now, when I talk about respond, I'm talking about respond correctly, doing what you need to do in the situation that you're in to prevail in a self-defense situation. This is where most people tend to train, whether that's learning self-defense techniques, fighting techniques, learning how to use different weapons and self-defense tools. That's where most people tend to really train and spend the most time. But there's just so much more to self-defense than learning a specific strike or a wrist lock or a throw. Now, we're not going to talk about all the different various techniques and the various different scenarios. I have hundreds of videos on my channel where we go over those type of scenarios. But the reality of it is, you have to respond correctly. You need to do the techniques needed to prevail in a self-defense situation. That might mean you need to take on the offensive. It also might mean that you need to take on a defensive. But regardless of what you need to do, you have to be able to recognize that and respond correctly and do what you need to do to prevail in a self-defense situation. Number 4, judging the distance. This is something that so many self-defense training groups and martial arts training groups tend to fail in talking about and preparing their students for. You have to understand the distance. You have to know what you can do in the distance and the space that you have in the situation. Everyone that trains can probably throw some sort of, striking techniques, kicking techniques, throwing techniques, but what can you do when that space is now smashed? What can you do when someone's being extremely violent and they're coming after you? What can you do in that much space? Everyone tends to practice where there's a good amount of space for them to be able to get to their weapons and tools, get to a certain kamae, do certain striking techniques. Well, that distance is not the same in a reality-based self-defense situation. If you have an arm's length on the person that's going to be attacking you, that's a luxury. Generally, it's much more closer, it's faster, it's more aggressive than how most people train. So when we're talking about judging the distance, you need to understand what can you do in the distance and the space that you have between you and your opponent. Don't try to do some sort of striking or kicking technique when they're closing the distance. Don't go trying to grab certain weapons and tools when you don't have the time to do it. So timing and distancing is everything. So understand what you can do in the space that you have so that you can use the correct technique to prevail in a self-defense situation. Which brings us to number 5, evasion skills. Let's be honest, you don't score more points if you kick somebody's ass on the street. The goal is to get home to your family. The goal is to protect you and to protect your loved ones. The goal is not to beat somebody up. So when you have now created distance, when you've done certain techniques to allow you to evade and escape danger, do so. Get back in the car, lock the door, run away, drive away, do what you need to do to evade. The goal is not to beat somebody up in a self-defense situation. The goal is to get home to your family. If you get home to your family, then you have successfully prevailed in a self-defense situation. You do not have to do some sort of fancy striking combination, throwing technique, locking technique. That is irrelevant. The goal in a self-defense situation is to defend yourself and get back to safety. So evasion skills is a must, and that's something that traditional ninjutsu teaches us from all of the classical kata. Various different techniques of throwing dirt in the eyes or using certain powders in the eyes, all these things that we see in classical ninjutsu that continue to revolve around this idea of evasion techniques, getting back to the Lord, getting back to the castle, right? That can easily be applied in modern self-defense training. You have to get back to your home. You need to get back to your family. So utilizing certain techniques, taking advantage of certain self-defense tools, positioning yourself, evasion skills, get back to the family. That's what you need to do. That is the ultimate skill in self-defense, is to get back to safety, to get back to your family. The goal of self-defense is not to beat somebody up. The goal of self-defense is to defend yourself and get back to your family, get back to safety. So if you can evade and get back to safety, you have now prevailed in a self-defense situation. So there's the 5 things that you have to do to win a fight and survive in a self-defense situation. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell. I do post 2 to 3 videos every single week. If you guys are interested in training in authentic ninjutsu and classical samurai bujutsu, check out my website at budo.ninjutsu.com. There you guys can see the 7 warrior traditions, the different principles and strategies and philosophies that we teach. If you don't live next to one of our schools, you guys can always join the Budo online ninjutsu dojo and start training with us that way. So thank you guys very much for your love and support. I deeply appreciate it. Until next time, take care, be safe, and good luck in your journey of Budo. Bye.